everyone, welcome back to Hope and Coffee and this lovely rainy Sunday. I will absolutely admit today has been an absolutely lovely day for me. I love a relaxing, quiet, just do nothing sort of day. And today is a day that I want to talk about people who complain. And why do I want to talk about people who complain? And the reason it's being is I think I've been one of these people in the past and I'm working to do better. I found this article and it kind of struck a chord with me because I know in the past I have kind of dwelled in some of these areas, like when my depression flared up, when my anxiety was high, I know that some of these things were triggered in me, causing me to be more negative and to be a little more pessimistic. And so when I found this article, I wanted to talk about it because I want to also be able to understand where some of this can come from with the people who complain. So I know for me, when a lot of times these things come up, is I was going through a severe bout of depression. Still kind of struggle with that right now, but I'm doing much better with therapy and a little bit of medication and those sorts of things which are prescribed by my doctor. And just in general, trying to stay on top of my mental health. I think it's always incredibly helpful to be aware of your mental health, and I do my very best. I have also removed a couple of toxic situations, a couple of toxic relationships out of my life, and that has helped as well because some of those situations did not help my mental health, and I have now realized that by those not being near me or in my vicinity, in my mind, I am able to think more clearly and to be a little more optimistic. So, I want to talk about people who complain. And one of the aspects that you may see is pessimism. I know that I've had pessimism in the past where I was unable to really think optimistically. And that may be surprising to some people because I do seem like a pretty optimistic person to most of my friends and family. But there are times when pessimism can really drag me down. And it's hard to see beyond that because you don't know when it's going to feel better, when things around you are going to feel better. So I would tend to dwell in it. And a lot of times people are like, well, you just have to get over it. Well, I'm sorry, but that's just not how everyone gets through things. Sometimes you do have to work your way through it and try to figure out what's going on in order to make it better. The next one is black and white thinking. And that's more of like, okay, it's never going to get better. There's no middle ground. It's either yes or no. I must be a failure. There is nothing in between. Again, I've had that as well. But I feel as though it was at its peak when I was in my most depressive states. And again, I'm doing better. And if people are in your life who have these sorts of thinkings, it may be helpful to talk to them more about their overall mental health. And I think that's where I'm wanting to go with this sort of article, because the article didn't really talk so much about kind of the source of where some of this negative or kind of complaining thinking came from. It just really talked about like 9 annoying aspects. And I understand that they're annoying and I get it. It's annoying for us who go through it, who have a hard time breaking through to get to the other side of the depression or the anxiety or the mental situation that we're in at the moment. And what we kind of need is a little compassion and understanding, but it's hard to communicate that. We also end up having a little bit of victim mentality. We don't know why this is happening to us. It's hard to see beyond that. We start to lose the ability to problem solve, and we become resistant to change, which because we don't know how to change. We almost refuse to listen to other people who want to offer us changes, because how can you know any better if we've tried everything? We do seek attention, and I know I have attachment issues. So again, my attention seeking would be at its highest when my depression was also at its highest, or I guess would be at its lowest points. I would lose the ability to communicate and would become passive aggressive, or would stop communicating and just kind of shut down. And then I would be unable to express gratitude. So those were a couple of things, those are quite a few things about things that happen when people complain a lot. And I think my purpose, again, is to talk more not about the complaining, but the source of the complaining and what can be going on inside of that person. Because again, I identified with a lot of these, like complaining, like what the thing was they were complaining about. And I know I've done these things, but I also recognize that when I was in kind of the thrall of doing most of these things, I was also at my most depressed. I was also going through something really tough in my life. I was having a hard time communicating that to other people or letting people into my life. I was struggling with something that I just really couldn't figure out how to work through. And so, in whatever way it was, the only way I could kind of vent that was through complaining. But I wasn't communicating, or I wasn't complaining about the source. I would complain about surface level things that were easier to talk about than the stuff underneath. So I don't think I was trying to pick fights, but it often felt like other people were trying to pick fights with me, whether they were or weren't. And it becomes a level of understanding when you kind of start to try to identify these sorts of things. I am no medical professional in any sort of way. I am simply a girl. I am simply a person who has dealt with mental health issues for a little while, who has worked her best to try to address them, to be aware of them, and to try to share my experiences with other people in order for others to know that they are not alone. I know I'm not alone, especially not in how I feel. There's a reason I love poetry, and I feel like poetry is one of the best sources of literature. It's the best sort of literary form to feel connected to other people, because I feel like poetry is it's the best use of words to just express emotion. And that's my thoughts. But usually you've got the least amount of words with the most amount of feeling. And that's why I love it. But that's kind of getting a little off topic, as I was trying to talk a little bit about just the complaining part. And so when you have someone in your life who may be complaining, and it may feel like they're picking fights, it may feel like they're complaining about little things, big things, constantly complaining, I hope you'll give them a chance in maybe trying to sit down and get to the heart of the matter. Now, it is not your duty, it is not your responsibility to fix them in any way. It is no one's responsibility to fix me. I was the one who was complaining, who had to address my own issues. It is no one else's problem to fix. I did need a level of understanding. That is it. But I needed to earn that by trying my best to communicate that to other people. And that's what I also needed to work on as well. So there's a level of, learning that comes with each and every part of mental health. And I think we learn a little bit every single day. So I hope this helps you in some ways, whether you are on one side or the other of complaining or receiving the complaints. I hope you know that when the complaints come, you don't try to pick a fight. Maybe you try to get to the source of the issue. But if the complaints are constant and it's too much, then I hope you'll know what to do when the time is right. And thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I will see you all on the next page, and have a great one. Bye.